Good afternoon and welcome to the Teacher Educator Conference 2015 in Hyderabad, and I'm very pleased to be joined by Katherine Bilsborough. Katherine, thank you for taking time out to come and speak to us.
My pleasure.
You gave a session this afternoon about materials writing, and if possible we'd just like to ask you a few questions about the session. One of the things that interested me, you were talking at the start of the session about how you started to develop materials for your own classes and how that was a kind of a form of continuing professional development for you. Can you just sort of expand on that a little bit and tell us how it helped?
Okay. In actual fact, I didn't realise that that was what had happened until recently when I was planning actually coming here, and I was thinking about materials writing in general. And when I started teaching, there were very few materials anyway, and I was teaching so many different classes of different levels and different kinds. I couldn't afford to buy lots of different materials, so I just created them myself. And I suppose I realised as I was working that I was developing other aspects of my teaching practice through developing the materials. So what I mean by this is that I was having to visualize the lesson that I was going to give, how is it going to work, the level of my students. I had to think about levels, interactions, how I was going to use the materials with this particular group or student because of their own contexts. And so it got me to thinking that really developing materials and writing materials is a fantastic way to develop loads of other aspects of teaching practice. And I'm absolutely convinced that that's the case. So.
I'm sure quite a few of the people watching your talk and this interview will be interested in materials writing. So what are the key things that you think they should bear in mind when they're...
Okay. Today what I did, I spoke about the theory, if you like, a little bit behind developing materials. And in actual fact, I think it's exactly the same as the theory behind developing and preparing a lesson plan. It's just taken it a little bit further. So I use the same key things I focus on. I think it's important to visualize the class and have that in the mind always. And then there are important things to think about, like sequencing, what order that the materials are going to come into. Rubrics are very important because very often what we do when we start to write materials, we create some wonderful materials and maybe it's a B1 level material, but the rubric is a C2 level. That's something that you don't even think about until you start. You start writing materials and then you give them out in class, and the students maybe 10 minutes trying to work out what they have to do, because even though the material's at the right level, the rubric isn't. So that's another thing. I think they're two key things. I think the beauty about creating your own materials is that you can tailor them to your students' needs, and it forces you to think about your students. It forces you to think about them. And at the end of the day, it should be number one. So, yeah.
One of the projects that you've been involved in recently is a writing project with the British Council to produce printed material based around a number of professional practices. Can you tell us a little bit about this?
Yeah, that was a very interesting project. The first reason it was very interesting is because lately most of the work that I've been asked to do has been writing for digital platforms, and with a very strong focus on the whole technology thing. So this project was actually for print materials, and I really like anything simple, and the simpler the better. And even though these materials were designed for maybe a context where internet access is not very reliable, etc., as soon as I actually saw the finished materials, which are fantastic, not because I wrote them, but because they've got a very good design, and I saw them, and my immediate thought was, I know that the teachers who I've trained in my context in Spain, even though they've got access to all the stuff online, they would prefer this, I think. So, for example, what they're great because they're standalone. It's like a sheet like this, one page, both sides, they stand alone, and I think they're a perfect model of what material should look like. and they are designed for teacher training programs, so they're perfect. So the teacher trainers can go into class, they can use them as they are, just standalone, and they deal with 21st century skills, the ones that you might expect, so critical thinking, global awareness, all the buzzwords, all the important things that we are talking about today. And there was some really good response from a lot of interest from the participants. They wanted to, where can I get these materials, and I know that they're going to be using them because they were very impressed with them, and partly because of their simplicity, because they are really easy to use. And I think that materials, whether it's for teacher trainers or students or whatever, they have to be simple, they have to be easy to use. The minute there are any complications, what's the point in spending 20 minutes explaining how to do something and then you've only got 10 minutes to do the activity? That's sort of where I'm coming from. So yeah, they're great.
All right, well, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Kat.